1 Samuel chapter 9, 1 through 13. 1 Samuel 9, 1 through 13. Let me ask you a question. When you think about the providence of God, what do you think about? What comes to mind? Okay. Teresa said God's plan. What else? When somebody says the providence of God, well, what do you think about? What is it? God's help. Okay, God's help. Anything else? Man, I may have to do a lesson on this. God's providence. Well, let me ask another question. When you think about the providence of God, what book of the Bible comes to mind? Any book? No book. Yep, I'm going to definitely have to do a lesson on it. Guys, one of the greatest books on the providence of God is the book of Esther. Okay, the book of Esther. In that book, God is never named. You never read the name of God ever in the book of Esther, 10 chapters, and He's never named. And yet God is working throughout the entirety of the book, is He not? True or false? Providence involves miraculous happenings. I thought I heard a false, and then I heard... Guys, the providence of God, we usually distinguish miracles from the providence of God. Okay, miracles involve the supernatural. It involves God's intervening in natural law, either stopping it, in speeding it up, interfering with it in some way. But when you think about the providence of God, it's God working through natural law. Okay? You never see God, you never hear God, you never feel God from the standpoint of His being literally there, and yet guess what? God is accomplishing His purposes and His will throughout the entirety of the event. And that's what happened in the book of Esther, wasn't it? Okay? The nation of Israel, the nation of Persia loses their queen. Esther is installed as queen. She comes to the rescue of the Israelites who have been condemned to death because Haman has petitioned the king who hates the Jews because of Mordecai, right? Esther goes to the king, saves the people, and the nation of Israel endures even though the laws of the Medes and Persians cannot be changed. It was changed, wasn't it, through the will of God. And yet you never see God directly intervening in any of that. It's just the choices of men, and yet God's will is happening. Well, the reason I bring that up is because that is exactly what is transpiring in this particular chapter and into the next chapter, okay? God is going to bring His will to pass, and it's just interesting how He does it. He works through the natural, normal affairs of men and brings His will to pass. Where are we right now in the book of 1 Samuel? What has happened thus far? Maybe I should say this. What was the very last thing that has happened? Yes, the people have asked for a king. God has warned them about this king, right? Is he going to be good or bad? He's going to be kind of bad because he's going to take and take and take from the people, is he not? Their sons, their daughters, their servants, their lands, taxes, all kinds of things are going to be taken by this king. And yet the people still want what? They still want a king. And God says what? If that's what you want, that's what I'm going to give you. And guys, through natural events, okay, for the most part, that's exactly what's about to transpire. I've entitled this chapter, or this section, The Search for Lost Donkeys. The search, who would have thought that would be a story in the Bible? You know, some dude out looking for his donkeys. Okay, but that's exactly what this section involves, is it not? I divided it into 5 different sections. Does anybody have an outline that you want to present to us? Anybody? Larry's always good about it. Go for it, Larry.
Genealogy of Saul.
Okay.
Search for lost animals. Widespread search. Answers from a man of God. And a man of God identified.
Okay, good. Kevin?
Saul is taller than any of the people. Saul's past. Saul's travel. Saul's tribute. And young women encourage kindliness.
Ah, very good. All right. Got a lot of T's in there, doesn't he? A lot of T's. I heard them. Anybody else want to challenge us with an outline? I love outlines. I tell you what the story's all about before you even get there. Here's mine, very quickly. Saul described. Saul dispatched, number 2. Saul disappointed, number 3. Saul discusses, number 4. And Saul directed. That's the 5th point. So those are mine. Now I use a bunch of D's, don't I? So T's, D's, no letters, it doesn't matter, as long as you get the basic thought and gist of the text, right? Question number 2. Of what tribe was Kish a member? Benjamin, yes. Now there was a man of Benjamin. So what does that mean? There was a man of Benjamin. What does that mean? Okay, he was of the tribe of Benjamin. Does it mean any more than that? He was of the tribe of Benjamin, okay? Does it mean, what's that? Okay, yes, Benjamin was the smallest tribe of Israel, folks. Okay, they received the smallest allotment of land because their numbers were very, very small. Okay, so here God is using a very small group of people in order to ultimately find a what? A king. Okay, folks, this man was not only of the tribe of Benjamin, he was a descendant of who? Of Benjamin, right? Who is Benjamin? Son of Rachel? Yes, Rachel only had 2 sons, right? Who was the other one? Joseph. And then she had a second, Benjamin, right? Okay, so a son of Rachel. So this man Kish, he can trace his lineage all the way back to guess who? All the way back to Benjamin, who is a son of who? Jacob, making him of the lineage of Israel, isn't it? So very, very interesting. The location of their land, if you go to our website, guys, in the next week or so, my outline will be posted on the website. And I put a lot of maps and I put a lot of things like that in my notes. So if you want to see that, you're more than welcome to go there and to see exactly where Benjamin is located. What does Kish mean? There was a man of the tribe of Benjamin whose name was Kish. What is it? A bow. Okay, yes, B-O-W. Okay, a bow used for fishing. A gift. What's that? Okay, yes, the name of 5 different Israelites in Scripture. Brown Driver and Briggs says that it means bent. Okay, usually names were associated with the individual himself, right? Okay, and so it could be that that Kish was a man that was maybe bent over, okay, somewhat. And because of his age, maybe because of the growth of his spine, whatever it is, maybe he was named bow or bent, okay. But there was something about him that usually represents the name. What do we know about Kish's descendants? Anything? What's that? Lost souls, okay. Anything else that we know about them? What's that? Men of power? Okay. Anybody find out anything? I tell you what, guys, if you really got into this descendants, it could be a pretty deep study as far as Kish, because there's some differences of opinion about his genealogy. A couple of things very quickly. Aphiah was of the house of Becher, B-E-C-H-E-R. And Becher was the son of Benjamin. So there's the connection, okay, between those individuals. And then we also find that Abiel is also Jehiel, the first settler of Gibeon. So that kind of tells you where they're located around the area of Gibeon. So you could go back and do a lot of study in genealogies and find out a lot of things. Kish was a mighty man of blank. Ma'am. Ah, there you go, yes. Yes, especially the warriors of Benjamin. They were oftentimes left-handed individuals. They threw the sling with the left hand. They could hit things within, the Bible says, a hair's breadth. Okay, so they were very good. They are considered oftentimes an ambidextrous tribe. Okay, they could use either hand just as efficiently, but many of them use their left hand, especially in battle. So, yeah, very unique tribe of people. Kish was a mighty man of blank. Power. What's the definition of that word power? Did you look it up?
Strength, might, wealth, ability.
Strength, might, wealth, ability. So in other words, he could be strong physically, right? Or it could mean that he was a man of power from a financial standpoint. Okay, a man of great wealth. And so there's a lot of different ways that he could have been a man of power. At his age, you would think what? How many sons did he have? Does anybody remember? I'll let you look that up. Okay, he had several sons already, grown sons. A man old enough to be king, didn't he? And so he was probably a little bit older at this time. So when you think of power in an older man, what do you think about? Probably his wealth, prosperity, his position among the nation of Israel, a man of power, a man of great influence among the nation of Israel. So if you heard the name Kish, they would have probably known exactly who you're talking about, okay, because of his standing, especially among the tribe of Benjamin. What son is revealed in 1 Samuel 9:2? Saul. And he had a son whose name was Saul. Did anybody look up the name Saul, what it means? There were two definitions given, and I thought it was interesting. One of them is this, desired. Okay, in other words, he was a son that was what? Desired by his parents. Okay, a son that was desired by his parents. Now listen to the second definition. Okay, we'll keep the first one in mind, desired. The second definition of Saul is this, prayed for. Okay, here parents were, they desired a what? A son, and what did they do? They prayed for one and were granted this son by the name of Saul. Okay, so a son that was prayed for by his parents. How is he described in 1 Samuel 9:2? 4 different attributes, is it not? A choice young man. Number 2, and a goodly man. Number 3.
There was none goodlier.
Yes. And there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. Okay. So not only was he good, he was what? More goodly than any. Okay. That's a pretty good son, isn't it? Okay. That's what everybody says about their son. I wonder if Kish wrote that. You know? Everybody's kid's the best, right? Okay. And then the 4th one says what? He was tall. I guess that's subjective or relative. You know, he was a Jew, right? Most Jews, are they fairly short? Okay, you know, 5'6", 5'7", guys. You're starting to get into tall Jews. Okay, 5 to 5.5 feet. Most Jews. So the Bible says that he stood what? Head and shoulders above the other men, guys. Now that adds another what? That adds about another foot to him, right? So if you're, say, 5'2", 5'3", he's what? 6'2". Okay, 6 feet. I mean, he's a big man walking around compared to all the other individuals. When you look up 1 Samuel 10:24, here's what it says. And Samuel said to all the people, see him whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people. And all the people shouted and said, God save the King. Guys, there was none like him among what? All the people. Okay? In other words, his physical stature and, you know, the way he carried himself among the nation, there was none like him in all of Israel. Big, strapping, strong individual. What does choice young man mean? That's a toughie, isn't it?
Exceptional.
Exceptional. Okay. Anybody else? It just says the best. Okay. When you look up the word choice young man in the Hebrew, it just means this, a young man. Okay. A young man. Somewhere between the ages of what? Young man. For a Jew. You were still a child till you were 20. You were a young man between what? 20 and 40. Okay. That was a young man. So I don't know the exact age of Saul at this particular time, but he was a youth. Okay, a young man at this particular time. So he could have been 20, 25, 30 years old. But he was in the prime of his life, was he not? Okay, the very productive years, the years when you're very physically strong. And so he stood out among other individuals. He was a goodly person. What does that mean? Goodly. Okay. Brown, Driver, and Briggs gives these words: good, pleasant, agreeable, excellent, appropriate, becoming. Okay, now guys, I want you to stop for a minute. Okay, well, let me ask you this question: how many of you have a bad opinion of Saul? You know, we have a bad opinion of Saul, don't we? Now, let's stop for a moment, okay, and let's act as if we've never seen or heard of Saul up to this point. Right? Never heard of him. Okay? He's a big guy, right? He is a young man. He is a goodly man. He's appropriate. He's becoming. He's, what did we say? Pleasant, agreeable, got a good personality about him. Folks, he's just a good guy, right? And guess what? You wouldn't have a negative opinion of him whatsoever. It's not till the end of his reign that we get this negative idea about this boy, isn't he? Folks, at the first, Saul is a great guy, okay? Just a wonderful person. In fact, when the people see, there was nobody who what? Nobody who really didn't want him as king, okay? A few, but there's always a few, aren't there? So just keep that in mind. Okay, morally good and ethical, okay? All right? Most of the time we don't, do we? He had one problem that's going to creep up on him all the time. Okay? And we'll get to it a little bit later. What had Kish lost? Okay, yes, he had lost his donkeys, had he not? And guys, it's right here that we see the providence of God beginning to what? Beginning to work. Okay? Is it pretty common event that animals get out of the fence for herdsmen and shepherds and farmers? Yeah, that's, you know, I've lived in several little agricultural communities, and all of a sudden you get a phone call, hey, my horses are out, will you help me get them? Oh, here we go, you know, city boy running around for horses. That is not what you want, okay? My cows are out. Okay, and all of a sudden you go down the road a little ways and there's 4 or 5 cows just standing on the side of the road chewing their cuds, you know. And so this is a common event. It's not something miraculous, is it? Okay, I've lost some donkeys. Yes, ma'am. On the other side, that's true. That's true. So keep the providence of God in mind. Who was to go with Saul to seek those donkeys? The servant. Now listen to what the text says. And Kish said to Saul his son, take now one of the servants. How many? One of the servants. Okay, we're not told who he is, not told his name. With thee, and arise and go seek the asses. Let me ask you something. Will it be good later that he has this servant? Now, did God intervene and tell him to take this servant? Or did Saul just choose the servant? He just chose the servant. God didn't tell him, you take that servant right over there because he's going to help you later. Didn't do that. Okay, Kish told his son, I want you to go seek these donkeys that are gone, and I want you to go grab one of the servants to go with you. Okay, and so he does. It's all what? Natural events. Okay, there's no supernatural working right now whatsoever. Just natural events are happening in these individuals' lives. Okay, what 5 places did they search in an attempt to find the lost animals? Number 1, Mount Ephraim, right? Number 2, yes, the land of, now notice that, the land of Shalisha. Number 3, the land of Shalem. Number 4, the land of the Benjamites. Folks, that's the entire area of land in which the Benjamites lived. Okay? Number 5. Okay, the land of Zuph Z-U-P-H, the land of Zuph. Okay. Is that a lot of land? A lot of territory? If you pull up my notes and you see the map, guys, it was a big parcel of land that they went out to search. How do you think they went? They didn't get in their car. You know, they didn't jump their little BMW and take a tour around. Okay, what did they do? One of two things. They either walked or rode a horse or a donkey, right? Okay, that's the way they were doing this. That's a lot of land. It's a pretty big, wide parcel of land around Benjamin that they went to find these donkeys. Now, the reason we say that is because it's going to take what? Time. Okay? It wasn't just a day search. Okay, this is a lot of land, and they're out there for quite some time as they're making this particular search for these animals. Who was Saul concerned about when they could not find the donkeys? Saul said to his servant that was with him, "Come, and let us return, lest my father leave caring for the asses and take thought for us." Uh-oh. What are we finding out about Saul again? Good son, bad son? Folks, he's a good son. Number one, he did exactly what his father told him to do. He didn't rebel. He didn't say, "I'm not doing this." He went and got the servant. He went out looking for these donkeys, didn't he? Didn't rebel against his. He's an obedient son. And then when he's out, he's also deeply concerned about the feelings of his father, is he not? We've been gone a long time. We haven't found these animals yet, and surely my father's going to be upset. He's going to be deeply concerned. Let's stop the search and go back home to comfort who? To comfort Dad. Is that a pretty good son? Yeah. Folks, what I'm trying to get you to get in your mind is that Saul was a good man at one point in his life. Okay? You see, we have this old negative, bad image of him, don't we? Isn't it funny how many of you have a good image of David? Ain't that a hoot? Ain't that a murderer? And you love him. Okay? You just love him to death. Oh, David. But you say, Saul, oh, he never killed anybody like that. Okay? Isn't it weird how our perceptions are? But the reason I say that is because I want you to understand that the transition in Saul is what we need to see. Because we need to be... How many of you... This is a trick question. How many of you in here consider yourselves to be good people? Not a person. Not one of you raised your hands. Poor things. You know, we all think we're good folks, don't we? Okay? We may not be choice young men, but we're good people, right? Can bad things happen to good people? Yeah. Can bad things happen to good people? Yes, absolutely. And so, and can good things come to bad people? Yeah, eventually they can. So just be aware that, you can start out one way and you can end your life what? A totally different way, can't you? You can start off as a wonderful individual, and then by the end of your life, things aren't so good, are they? And people don't view you the same. And what really solidifies everything is the totality of life, isn't it? Okay? When individuals look at it, they forget all the good and how great you were if you did something bad and you died in that particular condition. Everybody looks at you from then on as what? Bad person. Don't they? And that wasn't necessarily the case. Just interesting. Who did the servant request that they try to find who could help them? Man of God. And he said unto him, Behold now, there is in this city a man of God. He can show us our way that we should go. Now folks, this is interesting, right? Remember, the donkeys just happened to get loose. He just happened to choose this particular servant. And this particular servant just happened to know what? That the man of God would be in this city. Something that Saul did not know. Isn't that interesting? He was ready to go where? He was ready to go home. And the servant said, No, wait. There's a man of God in this city. Now, folks, he's not in Ramah. Did you know that? They're not in his hometown. They're in another city because Saul is there on a mission. Samuel is there on a mission, is he not? He's there for a reason. And yet, for some reason, this servant knew exactly where the man of God was going to be. And they were kind of close to what? Just happened to be kind of close to the city. Just kind of happened to be there. All right? Interesting. Man of God. Folks, it was a title that was applied to prophets and beloved religious leaders. Listen to this. The term appears 78 times in 72 verses in application to up to 13 different individuals. Okay, the man of God. Sometimes the Bible doesn't give us a person's name. It just refers to them as what? Man of God. Okay, man of God. And it's a pretty high title given to an individual. Okay, a man of God. What were the descriptions given to this man of God? How did the servant describe him? Honorable. That's one. And all that he says surely comes to pass. Guys, so remember we said that when Samuel became a prophet, the Bible says what? None of his words what? Failed. Remember that? You see, that's what this man knows about Samuel. He's a prophet, he's a man of God, and everything that he's ever predicted, anything that he's ever said, guess what? It's all come to pass. Okay? But he's honorable. Wow. Anybody look up the word honorable? That's our next question. What does it mean? What does it mean? Trustworthy. Heavy is the literal definition of the word heavy. Okay, but a lot of times what it means is abounding in honor. Okay, abounding in honor. Dictionary.com defines honor as this: honest, fair, a person of integrity, thus deserving respect. When an individual walks into a courtroom, who's up there? Your honor. One who's heavy, one who deserves what? Respect. Okay, because he's just, he's fair. What was another position of Samuel? He was not just a man of God, he was also a prophet. He was also what? A judge of Israel. He's honorable. He's trustworthy. He's fair. He's equitable. In other words, Samuel had a what? Wonderful reputation as a judge and as a prophet of God. Even though he had some troubles where? With his sons, didn't he? He himself was a good man. Okay? What was Saul concerned about if they chose to go to the man of God? Yeah, they didn't have a gift, did they? Then said Saul to his servant, but behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is not a present to bring the man of God. What have we? Remember, they've been out when? Where have they've been out a long time, have they not? Okay, searching for those donkeys. All their food's gone. All their basic necessities are gone. Saul feels like we just don't have anything at all to give him. No gift. Wow. Notice what is said. It was not required that a person pay a prophet. It was a custom, however, that one bring a gift to an individual who he thought was superior. Okay? So it's just a custom among the people. If I'm going to go to Samuel, if I'm going to ask him advice, then I need to be respectful and bring him at least a little something. Right? At least some kind of a gift. Okay? That kind of endears you to who? To the man of God, doesn't it? Do you have something you want to say?
I'm just thinking about the Magi bringing the gifts.
Ah, there you go. They did. And in that sense, they were what? Showing that he is superior, wasn't he? Because they were looking for the King of Israel, weren't they? Jesus Christ at that particular time. Now remember, what's playing in all of this? The providence of God, okay? What did the servant have to give to the man of God? A fourth of a shekel of silver. Just happened. Now think about that. Saul is the owner of the slave through his father, right? Saul has nothing, but it just so happens. This one servant that he just so happened to choose, who so happened to know that the man of God was in the city, happened to have what? A little shekel of silver. Isn't that interesting? It just so happened. What's playing a part here, guys? See, this is what I'm saying. This is, to me, the providence of God is greater than even the supernatural ability of God. Now, I'm not downplaying the supernatural ability. It's wonderful that a man can be raised from the dead. That's awesome, isn't it? But how God can take ordinary events, never interfere in my free will, let me make all the decisions I want to, and still bring His will to pass, blows my mind. How do you do that? How can you direct your will without interfering in anybody else's will? I don't know. Never performing a miracle, just letting things happen and your will comes to pass. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to me. And every time I think about it, it just blows my mind. Okay? So he's got a fourth part of a what? Shekel of silver. How much was that fourth? 1/10 of an ounce. Okay? I got about 1/8 of an ounce, somewhere like that, okay? Does anybody know what silver is running right now? 50. Let's go an ounce. Do you know what's running an ounce? Okay? It's running a little under $14 an ounce right now. Okay? $14 an ounce. Okay? He had fourth part of a shekel, which is 1/8 of an ounce, around that. Guys, in our money today, it'd be about $1.92. What a gift. Okay? And it may have been much less than that back then. You know that? It may have been only a few cents worth. But it was at least what? It was at least a gift. Absolutely. One Clark writes this. And here the fourth part of a shekel of silver, about 9 pence of our money, was deemed sufficient. Therefore the present was intended more as a token of respect than a payment or an emolument. Okay? What was the ancient name for a prophet? A seer, yes, a seer. To see, to cause to see, to show. In other words, he could look down the quarters of time and see things that were going to come to pass, right? What did these men want to know? Where are the donkeys? Question. Did he know? Did he know? Don't you remember what he says? Thy father's donkeys have been found. That's what he tells him. How did he know that? Saul didn't even know it. But he tells him, yeah, they've already been found. This man can see things. Okay? And so he's called a seer. And that was the ancient name, was it not, of a prophet. One who could see, one who could look down the quarters of time. True or false? They went to the city wherein the man of God was. True. Okay? Yeah, guys, don't go to the wrong place. Right? Somebody directs you to where you need to go. Don't go to the wrong place. Okay? Did that ever happen to anybody? They went to the wrong place. If you remember Naaman was told that there was a prophet that could heal him of his leprosy. Where did he go? He went to the king first. He went to the wrong place. Guess what the king said? I can't help you. He thought he was sent there to cause war, did he not? Okay, you got to go to the right place. And they went to the right place. To whom did Saul and the servants speak as they went up the hill into the city? Yeah, they found some maidens, did they not? Young maidens. Folks, it's interesting that these young maidens weren't in the house, were they? See, oftentimes we think these cultures kept their women in and protected them, never let them out of the house. That's not the case, folks. These women were let out of the house a lot. Women were let out to go get water. Women were let out to go purchase things. Women were let out to travel. Women were let out to work in the field. There's a lot of places that women were used in that culture. Okay? A lot of times we think that in that culture, women were just what? Suppressed. Okay? And that's not necessarily the case. You see women doing a lot of things in that culture. Why was Saul in that city? Why was he there? Yeah, he was going to make a sacrifice, was he not? And he answered them and said, He is, behold, He is before you. Make haste now. For He came today to the city. Oh, He came today. And it just happened that the servant knew that today He would be in the city. And he just came when? He just came today to the city. For there's a sacrifice of the people today in the high place. Just happened that today there's going to be a what? Sacrifice of the city. And Samuel's going to be there. And he's going to be pretty close to who? To Saul, a servant. Whose servant has a quarter shekel in his pocket. Who he just happened to get picked from all the rest of the servants. Because some donkeys had gotten loose. You see the providence of God? That's what I want you to understand in this text. Okay? The high place. What's a high place, folks? Okay, usually a place of worship. In that culture, one of the things they did, they got out of the cities, okay, and they went out to the high places to get elevated, okay, to the gods in order to offer their sacrifices and things. You go to many of the cities in Greece and other places, right outside the cities are what they refer to as acropolises, okay? Acropolis. The high city or the high part of the city is what that term means, and that's where they would offer their sacrifices to the gods. True or false? The people would not eat until Samuel had done the sacrifice. Right. What did the sacrifice involve? It says he was going to bless the sacrifice. Somehow, prophets needed to be there in order to carry out the rites, carry out the the right wording, make the blessing for the people. And so they found the who. They're about to find the who. About to find the man of God, aren't they? Is he going to help them? Yes. But is something else going to transpire? Oh yes, something else pretty big is about to transpire. Does Saul have any idea about this? Now folks, I want you to think about that. God has brought Saul to Samuel not to find donkeys. Now that's why Saul's there, but that's not why he's there. Not as far as God's concerned. It's pretty good, isn't it? All righty, thank you very much. See you tonight, Lord willing.